Errol Middleton has spent more than 2 decades remaining close to the royal story without trying to become the story herself. That is why claims about alleged remarks concerning Queen Camilla have attracted so much attention. There is no clear public evidence confirming the confrontation described in some reports, and that distinction matters. Yet the speed with which people believed it may reveal more than the rumor itself. Why were royal watchers ready to imagine Carol finally speaking out? Perhaps because the public has long viewed her as Catherine's quiet shield, a mother who understands how much pressure can hide behind polished smiles. Bella, meanwhile, is often seen as a symbol of the palace establishment, a woman whose position was secured through decades of controversy and reinvention. Put those images together and the story almost writes itself. The protective mother on one side, reigning queen on the other, with William, Catherine, and their children caught by family loyalty and royal hierarchy. But this may not be about one viral remark. It may be about why the public believes there has always been a quiet contest over who influences the monarchy's future. The detail most people miss is that Carol's power has never depended on a title. It has depended on trust. Understand why the rumor feels believable. Look at the very different worlds Carol Middleton and Queen Camilla came from. Carol was not raised inside the aristocratic system. She worked as a flight attendant, built a business with Michael Middleton, and helped create a stable family life far removed from palace protocol. Her influence came through persistence, planning, and the confidence to enter spaces never designed for people like her. Camilla's path was different, but she grew up around the social circles that had long surrounded the monarchy and eventually became queen, after one of the most controversial journeys in modern royal history. She understands hierarchy, tradition, and the quiet rules of royal life because those rules were part of her world long before Catherine entered it. That contrast matters more than it seems. Errol appears to represent influence from outside the institution, family loyalty, emotional stability, and the belief that private relationships can protect people from public pressure. Camilla represents influence from within, rank, duty, continuity, and the expectation that personal choices may give way to the needs of the crown. None of this proves that the two women are engaged in a private war. Public appearances have not provided reliable evidence of open hostility, where different backgrounds make them easy to cast as rivals. From a viewer's perspective, the tension feels less like gossip and more like a clash between two ideas of power. The deeper question is not which woman holds the higher title, which kind of influence will shape Catherine, William, and the generation that follows. Carol Middleton's importance to Catherine has never depended on palace rank. It comes from something far more personal: consistency. Long before Catherine married Prince William, the Middleton family gave her a sense of stability that became increasingly valuable as royal life grew more demanding. That stability appears to have remained important after the wedding. Carol has often been presented as a dependable presence around William, Catherine, and their children. Not as a public strategist, but as a mother and grandmother who offers a life beyond ceremony. For George, Charlotte, and Louis, the Middleton side of the family represents birthdays, ordinary routines, private celebrations, and time spent away from the formality attached to royal identity. This may also explain why William is believed to value the Middletons so deeply. His own childhood was shaped by public conflict, family breakdown, and the loss of his mother. A close, functioning family environment would naturally carry emotional significance for someone determined to give his children a different experience. But here is where Carol's influence becomes more complicated. She holds no constitutional role, no royal title, and no official authority. Yet she may possess something the palace cannot grant through protocol: Catherine's complete trust. Does not mean Carol controls royal decisions, nor does it prove she is competing with Camilla. What it does suggest is that influence inside this family may not always follow the formal order of precedence. A palace can determine where Catherine stands at a state event. It cannot easily determine who she turns to when the cameras are gone. And in a monarchy where public duty often comes at a private emotional cost, that distinction may matter more than any title. No royal story involving William, Catherine, and Camilla can be understood without acknowledging Diana's continuing presence in the public imagination. She has been gone for decades, yet the emotions surrounding her life still shape how audiences interpret almost every change inside the monarchy. William, this history is not symbolic. It is personal. He grew up watching his mother become one of the most famous women in the world while also enduring intense pressure behind palace walls. Her death left him with a public legacy to protect and a private loss that no royal title could soften. That is why Catherine's position carries such emotional weight. Viewers often compare her warmth, style, and ability to connect with ordinary people to qualities they admired in Diana. The comparison is not always fair to Catherine, who has her own personality and responsibilities, but it remains powerful. Many people do not simply see her as a future queen. They see her as evidence that the monarchy may have learned from the past. Carol's role becomes especially meaningful within that interpretation. To supporters of the Middleton family, she is not trying to control the crown. She is helping Catherine preserve the emotional foundation that royal life can so easily erode. Her presence represents a family network outside the palace, one capable of offering honesty, privacy, and reassurance without bending a performance in return. Camilla, fairly or not, occupies the opposite side of this emotional history. She remains connected in the public mind to the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage. No amount of duty can completely remove that association for viewers who experience Diana's pain, as though it belonged to them. Well, but this is where the discussion requires restraint. There is no reliable evidence that Camilla is attempting to repeat the treatment Diana experienced, or that Catherine sees herself as fighting Diana's old battles. Those conclusions belong to speculation, not confirmed fact. Still, rumor about Carol gained attention because it touches an unresolved fear that the institution could once again place tradition, image, and hierarchy above the emotional safety of a woman expected to carry its future. Well, this is no longer just a story about two grandmothers. It is about what the monarchy learned from Diana and what the public will never allow it to forget. The question at the center of this story is larger than Carol or Camilla. It is about George, Charlotte, and Louis, and the kind of childhood the monarchy believes future heirs should have. Royal children are expected to understand duty, history, and public responsibility. They will grow up knowing that their choices may one day carry national meaning. From that perspective, palace tradition is not simply old-fashioned ceremony. It is preparation for a life few people can truly understand. But preparation can come at a cost when it begins too early or leaves too little space for ordinary family life. William has spoken publicly about wanting his children to feel secure and supported. Catherine has built much of her work around early childhood, emotional development, and the importance of stable relationships. Those priorities help explain why the Middleton family is often seen as such an important part of the children's world. Carol can offer something the palace cannot manufacture: a connection to life outside royal hierarchy, time with grandparents, private family traditions, and moments in which the children are not treated as symbols of the crown may help them develop the confidence needed to carry public roles later. Camilla's contribution, however, should not be reduced to cold formality. As queen, she understands the pressures of scrutiny, the discipline required by public duty, and the reality of entering royal life under intense criticism. Those experiences may also contain valuable lessons. A mistake would be to assume that only one of these worlds can shape the children. A strongest future may come from combining both: the discipline to serve and the emotional security to remain human. There is no confirmed evidence that Carol and Camilla are fighting for control over the children. Rumor feels powerful because it reflects a real question facing the monarchy. Should the next generation be molded primarily by tradition or protected by a more modern understanding of family life? Perhaps the future of the crown will depend on whether William and Catherine can balance both without allowing either world to consume the other. There are at least three ways to understand the story now circulating around Carol Middleton and Queen Camilla. The first is that some genuine tension may exist, but the details have been exaggerated. Families often disagree over boundaries, influence, and the upbringing of children. Inside the royal family, even an ordinary difference of opinion can be transformed into a palace war once anonymous claims and emotional headlines take over. The second possibility is that there was no dramatic confrontation at all. Carol and Camilla may simply occupy different roles, while the public projects older royal conflicts onto them. Because Camilla remains linked to memories of Diana, and Carol is seen as Catherine's protector, audiences are already prepared to interpret distance as hostility. The third interpretation is the most significant. Rumor may be gaining attention because it reflects a real transfer of influence within the monarchy. Charles and Camilla represent the current reign, but William and Catherine represent what comes next. As that future moves closer, the people who provide them with stability, advice, and emotional support naturally appear more important. What stands out is that all three interpretations can exist at the same time. There may be personal differences, media exaggeration, and a genuine generational shift beneath the surface. The safest conclusion is not that Carol has defeated Camilla or exposed a secret palace plan. It is that public attention is moving toward William and Catherine, wherein every relationship around them is now being judged through the question of succession. That is why this story matters. It reveals less about one alleged argument and more about where the public believes the monarchy's future authority already lies. Whatever the truth behind the rumor, its popularity reveals a shift in how the public now views royal power. Will Charles and Camilla hold the crown today? But William and Catherine increasingly carry the emotional expectations of tomorrow. That difference matters. Formal authority still belongs to the current reign, yet public attention is already moving toward the next generation. Every appearance by William and Catherine is examined not only as a royal engagement, but as a preview of what the monarchy may eventually become. Within that future, Middleton family occupies an unusual position. They hold no royal rank, but their influence appears rooted in trust, stability, and proximity to the people who will one day lead the institution. In a system built on titles, that kind of private influence is difficult to measure but impossible to ignore. The reason this matters is that modern audiences increasingly value authenticity over ceremony. They still expect dignity, duty, and continuity, but they also want the royal family to appear emotionally aware, relatable, and capable of learning from its past. William and Catherine seem to understand that balance. Their challenge will be to preserve the strengths of monarchy without repeating the emotional distance that damaged previous generations. This is not proof that Camilla is losing influence, nor that Carol is gaining control. It is evidence that the center of public interest is changing. Power inside a monarchy is not always measured by who wears the crown. Sometimes it is measured by who the future king trusts, who the future queen turns to, and which family values the next citrus chooses to carry forward. There's still no reliable public evidence proving that Carol Middleton launched a direct attack on Queen Camilla, or that a dramatic confrontation took place behind palace doors. The story became powerful because it expresses something many royal watchers already feel. The future of the monarchy may depend less on rigid hierarchy and more on emotional stability, trust, and family loyalty. Carol's influence does not come from a crown. It comes from being the person Catherine can rely on when royal life becomes overwhelming. Camilla's position, meanwhile, comes with history, duty, and the burden of a public image that remains complicated. Perhaps the real conflict is not between two women at all. It is between two visions of monarchy, one protected by tradition, the other strengthened by humanity. Now I want to hear your honest opinion. Ain't Carol Middleton gives Catherine and her children the stability once failed to provide, or are royal watchers turning an ordinary family relationship into a palace power struggle? If you want calm, detailed royal analysis without the noise, subscribe to Royal Truths and stay with us for the next story.